I was involved from the beginning. I was part of a small group of people who decided to form a new orchestra, and it really came about after I had graduated from St. Olaf and when I was in graduate school. I was playing in a different community orchestra.
Friends got together, and mostly St. Olaf friends, just saying, well, we'd like to play some more. A few of us would play at the Sons of Norway for brunches or, wedding, whatever we could find, just for fun. But it was always small, either duet, chamber pieces. We really missed playing in an orchestra setting, and missed the music and missed the group.
A lot of us who were recent college graduates were really feeling frustrated by the kinds of playing opportunities that were at that time. Some of us that were playing together talked to other people who were playing in other groups that shared the same experience. So about 3 or 4 of us decided to try to get a group together.
We got together and talked about starting a group, and a few of my friends approached people at St. Olaf who gave us contacts to start the group.
We got in touch with the St. Olaf alumni office, we got in touch with the music department. We also lined up a commitment from Central Lutheran to allow us to practice once a week in their choir room in exchange for playing for a few church services during the year. Lois and a few other people were very kind to volunteer to be on our board. And the last piece was we approached Stephen Amundsen, who is the director of the St. Olaf Orchestra nowadays. He was brand new down there at that time.
He called me and said, would you help us? And I said, sure. I was 26 years at the time, old. I was, a pretty young guy, very ambitious, would have loved more conducting experience, and so I was excited to work with them. So we would use the St. Olaf Orchestra music library because we had a lot of orchestra music that would be useful to this orchestra as they started. And then we started to figure out, okay, how many violins do we need? How many violas? How many cellos, basses? What do we have covered? What do we need?
Many people helped start the orchestra. It became a real team effort, and it took off.
Started, and for that first year, it was just, we got together, we rehearsed on Tuesday evenings, I remember, and we performed, I think, 2 or 3 concerts that first year. And then at the end of that first year, we decided, okay, maybe we better get serious and form some bylaws and get a board of directors organized.
We started out playing chamber music with a smaller number of members.
At the time that it was first formed, there were some sections of the orchestra that were really good, and there were some sections that were just terrible. And so it was wildly inconsistent, I should say.
We grew in numbers gradually over the first 10 years or so. Eventually we got to the point where instead of being a 25 or 30 piece orchestra, we were consistently playing concerts with 50 or 60 players.
The abilities of the players has steadily gone up over the years as more and more serious players have joined the orchestra.
I decided to leave that orchestra and just stick with the Bloomington Symphony that I was conducting at the time. At the end of that 5-year period, we decided that it would be nice to think of getting a new name for the orchestra, because the original name was Central Chamber Orchestra, because we rehearsed at Central Lutheran Church. We were in the center of Minneapolis, and so we thought that was kind of a clever name. We didn't necessarily want to adopt the church name, and that was a little bit of a problem with the orchestra. They didn't necessarily want to be identified with the church, and so we had talked for a year or two, maybe we should change our name. But when I was thinking of resigning, I thought, let's let the new music director get involved with that. And Manny Laureano, when we did auditions, was the one who won the audition to be the new music director.
When I got the job as music director, I thought to myself, these are good players. It sure would be cool to create an entire symphony orchestra, hold auditions and make it bigger, because then we could always downsize when we wanted to play the chamber repertoire, and we could always play the big stuff as our core orchestra. So I broached that subject with the board and I said, how would you feel about becoming a full-fledged symphony orchestra? And people just ate up that idea. what are we going to call ourselves? Well, we had a meeting about that, and I met with some of the board members, some of the musicians, and we went through every name in the book that would try and convey what the orchestra was all about. So we started thinking, well, you know, we play in different locations around the metro area. We're a symphony orchestra. And then after eschewing a few other ideas, I said, hey, the Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra. And they all kind of stopped. And so you could see them kind of saying it over to themselves. They said, that's good. That's good. And so, bingo. The Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra held auditions for the next season, and first season as the Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra began.
It was a good challenge for us to undertake.
There became more of a structure. It couldn't be that you could miss 3 out of 7 rehearsals and waltz in and play the concert. No, the repertoire was too tough for that. And so they started to make rules like, well, you can't miss more than this many rehearsals. You have to show up at, I think it was 7:30.
You know, what pops into mind is Manny and his musical analogies and his fun stories. And if he wants the strings to sound, you know, gutsy and they have this part like this, they'll say, no, that's too tame. Sound like a fat man sitting under a tree, waving a fly from his nose. You know what I mean? That's his style.
Ending my role with the orchestra was bittersweet because I had been with them for, I think it was 9 years. Very regretfully, I had to say, I can't do this anymore. As much as I love this, I need to devote a little more time to my family. But watching their development in the last few years, first with William and Trilligator and now with William Schrickle, I am so happy at what they have become.
I'm now finishing my 11th season, so that it was the year 2000 was the year that I started as the music director of the Metropolitan, and so that's the position that I still have.
Bill has tremendous connections in the musical world that he exploits beautifully to make this into, it's more than your average community orchestra.
All 4 of our music directors have been very collegial, very warm, very easy to work with, excellent conductors. Different personalities, though.
Very much their own styles, but all fine musicians and have brought the best out of the group, I really think.
Every one of them had really high standards, but yet was realistic about what the orchestra at that time could do.
I went on the board in 2001, spring of 2001, and here I am, still doing it. I find the venues, I write the contracts, I order the music, I prepare the music, distribute it.
We've always had a really strong orchestra management and orchestra board. You know, sometimes we forget about that. It's all about the playing, but there's also all this work behind the scenes that needs to happen to make an orchestra functional.
We get requests to do kind of things that are out of the, if you want to say out of the box or out of our usual scope of what we do. We've been part of the Fairview Home Care Hospice music therapy program. So that, it appears, really means a lot to the players. They show up, they're involved when they're there, they're glad to be there. And that offers uncovered support for services to dying people, that those services aren't covered by insurance. And we raised over $70,000, netted them $70,000 last year, and a little bit more this year.
We also have been involved for the last 3 or 4 years in a program in St. Paul called Neighborhood House. We have a mission to our audiences to try to play the music. We have a mission to try to bring that something beyond the music.
Oh, well, I have to watch that, I don't break.
One of the great things about music is that it is something that everyone can identify with. Everybody has a heart and a soul, everybody has a sort of emotional makeup, and music touches people in a way that maybe some other things can't.
Just your ear You're really going to enjoy it.
You will not be disappointed.
Look, you're never going to find a musical product at this level for little or no cost anywhere else in the United States.
This is absolutely the best civic orchestra in Minnesota, and I firmly believe that.
When you come and hear the MSO, you will see and hear energy, inspiration, and touch your soul in a way that only great music can. You will be amazed that such a beautiful performance can come from players who are amateurs in the true sense of the word.
Come to a concert.
You're missing a lot. You need to get out there and hear a concert with these folks. You will be absolutely delighted.